Now on Talking Solutions, want to welcome Will Batista. We are talking about something that's going on with the Nevada State Legislature right now in Carson City, something called Marsy's Law. Will, thanks for coming in for the show.
Thank you for having me.
I have seen some stuff about Marsy's Law, even on social media. They've even got this thing on Facebook.
Absolutely. We're everywhere. We're trying to be everywhere if we can. We're really trying to bring awareness about this to the community.
Legislature's only up there every other year, and right now they're working. I've seen the stuff from Marsy's Law, but I'm not really sure what it is. Something about crime victims.
Yeah, here in Nevada, it's actually referred to as SJR 17 or Senate Joint Resolution 17. It was proposed back in 2015 during that legislative session. Marsy's Law is the organization behind the effort. Wherever we go, it's kind of a name that we share for the cause of victims of crime. And so what SJR 17 or Marsy's Law is aiming to do, it's aiming to give victims of crime equal rights with those of the accused or those of criminals. Right now, if you're a criminal, for example, you can rattle off a number of different rights that you have, even from the time that you're arrested and all throughout the criminal justice process. As a victim of crime, you may not know what those rights are, so we want to bring those to light, and we also want to elevate those to the constitutional level here in Nevada.
So you want to make it an even playing field.
Absolutely. And, you know, a lot of people would think that that's a no-brainer, that's how the system is, but unfortunately, that's not the case. In Nevada, there are statutory laws that give victims of crime certain rights. However, you know, in the legal system, there's a hierarchy, if you will, of laws, and without getting too technical, constitutional rights are always the highest level, and that's where we think that victims of crime and their rights deserve to be.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. None of us wants to be a victim of crime, obviously,
Yes.
or the family of someone who has been a victim of crime. But with Marsy's Law, which is what we're talking about right now on Talking Solutions with Will Batista, this is up for debate with the Nevada State Legislature in Carson City right now. So this would be a good time for us to, A, find out what it's all about, know about it, and then let your elected officials know your feelings.
Absolutely. And, you know, going back to what you mentioned, none of us wants to ever be a victim of crime. Unfortunately, a lot of us will be or will know somebody within our family, friends, neighbor who is a victim of crime. It doesn't matter whether you're white, black, rich, poor, educated, non-educated. Crime doesn't know any color, race, creed. It can happen to anybody. And so it is up for debate this year. So to give you a little bit of history and why it's up again, in Nevada, since this is a proposed change to the Constitution, Nevada law requires you to pass the legislature twice.
Twice, yes.
Correct. Before any voter gets to even cast their vote on it, has to pass twice. In 2015, we received a lot of support, and we actually passed out of both the Senate and the Assembly. And so this time around, it's back up for its second bout, if you will.
Oh, well, that's good. That will make it really happen.
Yes. So where we're at currently on Monday, because it had passed in 2015, it was one of those bills that's automatically referred back to the floor. State Senator Tick Seger-Bloom had requested that it be sent to the Judiciary Committee where it should be. So we're hoping that within the next, week and a half, that we'll see an actual schedule for testimony. At that time, we'll once again evaluate SJR 17 and all the provisions that are within it. And we'll also have an opportunity to bring lots of supporters and, unfortunately, some of the victims of crime to come and testify on behalf of the bill and why we feel they should support it. Once that happens, and we hope that they vote in the affirmative, it will then go back to the Senate floor where it will have a floor vote.
So this is happening right now.
It is. And, we encourage people to get involved. Like you said, we always want people to be able to share their stories or, if they have an inkling that they want to get involved, please feel free to contact us. You can go to our Facebook page, which is Marsy's Law for Nevada, or you can find us at Twitter at Marsy's Law, the number 4, and NV for Nevada, or you can feel free to give me a call. You can call me directly. My number is 702-280-0093. We'd love to get you involved and hear your stories.
Will Batista is with us. We're talking about Marsy's Law, a proposed law for the state of Nevada having to do with crime victims' rights. I'm going to make sure, like always, that the links and phone numbers, all the information is on our Talking Solutions Facebook page, along with the podcast of our discussion today. Will, I'm wondering, Marsy's Law, and it's spelled differently, by the way. You'll see it on the Facebook page, and you may have seen it written elsewhere. It's Marsys. Marsy's Law. Usually when I see laws or proposed ordinances, it's because it's tied to someone with that name. Where does the name Marsy's Law come from? Is there a story behind it?
Absolutely. Like many laws similar to it, there's an unfortunate story behind it. In 1983, Marsy Lee Nicholas was a student at the University of California, Santa Barbara. Her ex-boyfriend unfortunately took her life. About a week after that happened, a week after that incident, Marsy's brother and mother were walking out of a grocery store and ran into the accused murderer, her ex-boyfriend, who then proceeded to harass them. And so Marsy's brother took it upon himself to make sure that no other families, as best as he can, no other family would have to endure the same kind of harassment from a criminal. So that's where the name Marsy comes from. It's from Marsy Lee Nicholas, who unfortunately was a victim of crime herself.
A lot of times those laws, like Marsy's Law here in Nevada, it's kind of a national name. And in different states that don't have, in this case, a level playing field for both the criminals or the accused criminal and the victims and their families, they should have similar rights. It shouldn't be tilted one way or the other. So Marsy's Law is that law that is blossoming up across the country in states that need that kind of protection.
Absolutely. It started in California, where the voters passed Marsy's Law, their version of Marsy's Law, I should note. Then in 2014, it passed in Illinois. It was the measure that received the highest percentage of vote in that state's history, or at least since they were keeping count of that. And then just last year in 2016, Marsy's Law also was on the ballot in 3 states, Montana, North, and South Dakota. South Dakota received 60% of the vote, North Dakota 62% of the vote, and in Montana 66% of the vote. And I think it's important to note that, it is a national movement for crime victims, and we've received the support of people all across, not just the country, but here in the state of Nevada. We have people behind us like Clark County Sheriff Joe Lombardo. We have District Attorney
Steve Wolfson.
Steve Wolfson. We have people from all different political spectrums. We have Attorney General Adam Laxalt. We have Clark County Commissioner Larry Brown and
June Kellyani.
We also have Marilyn Kirkpatrick, who is the former Speaker of the Assembly. We have a lot of folks who understand that this is not a partisan issue. We are a bipartisan organization, and we only seek the interests of victims of crime.
And I understand, Will, that there are 2 sides to every issue, but it seems to kind of be a no-brainer that the victim of crime should have at least the same rights as the criminal who is being accused of that crime.
And I want to make sure that people understand that by elevating the rights of victims of crime, it does not diminish in any way, shape, or form the rights of those who are accused of crimes. Their rights are still being observed. It's just an opportunity for victims to have a voice in the process. Marsy's Law would give them the right to notification of when there's a bail hearing, a parole hearing, or any other public proceeding. And it would also give them a voice to be able to include a victim impact statement if they find that that's necessary, or to confer with the assistant DA or whoever's handling that case as to what kind of plea bargain should be happening. Currently it happens on occasion, but we want to make sure that it happens for everybody. If it's happening 80 or 90% of the time, or 95% of the time even, we want to make sure that it happens 100% of the time. No family is any less deserving of those rights than any other.
Standardize it.
Yes, ma'am.
Will Batista is with us, and we're talking about Marsy's Law, which is before the Nevada State Legislature right now up in Carson City. Will, we always ask as part of Talking Solutions, what can we do to help you?
So some of the most important things to do is, if you yourself are a victim of crime, share your story. We always say that there's 2 different ways of coping, if you will, with going through a tragedy, something like a murder, or if it was something different, there's different coping mechanisms. One way that people deal with their issues is to tell other people about the terrible thing that they have gone through, so that they can kind of send a call to action. And that's what we want to do. We want to call people people to action to actually do something and engage. So we already spoke about social media. Make sure to spread the message of Marsy's Law. Our Facebook page, Marsy's Law for Nevada. Our Twitter handle, Marsy's Law, and the number 4NV, and Marsy is spelled Marsys, just, for clarification. But also contact your state senator. That's probably the most important thing that you can do right now is contact your state senator and say, we want you to vote yes on SJR 17. Because if it doesn't get out of committee, if it doesn't get out of the floor, voters are never going to have an opportunity to vote on this. So we want to make sure that the legislature knows and hears from you and hears your stories. There's nothing more compelling than to hear some of the stories that we hear on an everyday basis as to why we need Marsy's Law passed in Nevada. And so I think that's the most important way to get involved. If you're not sure whether that's what you want to do, feel free to contact me directly. Again, my phone number is 702-280-0093, or you can reach me on my email, which is will@marsyslaw.us, and Marsy's is Marsys. I just got to clarify that. We'll help you tell your story in the way that you feel comfortable. Whether you want to record a video message, write a note to someone, even write a letter to the editor to one of the papers. You can write to the Review Journal. You can write to the Las Vegas Sun. That's what we want to do. We want to have an engaging conversation. We want to have an engaging community that gets behind victims of crime.
Here's hoping that none of us will ever have to experience being a victim of crime. But chances are, at some point, you or your family or your friends, someone in your circle may experience this, which makes Marsy's Law that more important. Whatever your view is, just get involved. We will have all of the links for Marsy's Law on our Talking Solutions Facebook page, along with the podcast of the interview. Is there anything we're forgetting?
I would say it may not be something that's important to you today, but we live in a world with people who are flawed. We're all regular human beings, and you never know whether this is going to be something to impact you. And this is a great preventative measure to make sure that your rights in the future, if that's the case, and hopefully it's not, are protected and are observed. So I know we tend to only get behind the causes that are close to us or have personally affected our lives. This is a great way to help people who are already in that situation and those who may be in that situation in the future. So just keep in mind that unfortunately crime has no bounds, and we want to make sure that you have a right and a voice in that process.
And hopefully it won't happen to you, but you'll be looking out for the people who are unfortunate enough to experience crime in their lives.
Yep. Our number one priority is to make sure that nobody experiences the same thing that Marsy's family did, where they're harassed by those who have already brought tragedy into their lives. We just urge your support, and more importantly, we urge your action to make sure to contact your legislator, especially your state senator right now, since it's in the state senate.
And now is the time.
Yes, ma'am. Safe Nest and Safe House, they've been a great advocate partner for us, and I'd love to give them a shout out.
We love Safe Nest.
Yeah.
Domestic violence is a huge problem for us here in Southern Nevada.
And just a few weeks ago, Safe House and Safe Nest actually penned a joint op-ed urging the legislature for support of SJR 17 during this next session. And so we have organizations not just in Southern Nevada, but in Northern Nevada who have come out in favor of our measure. It just goes to show the community that's coming together and coming behind this issue.
This is a statewide issue for all of us here in Nevada. It's Marsy's Law. More details on the Talking Solutions Facebook page, the podcast, Will Batista, equal rights for crime victims. That's what Marsy's Law is all about. Thank you so much for joining us today on Talking Solutions.
Thank you again for this opportunity.